The Case of the Silver Serpent Dagger, written by Jules Wilder. The soft knock at the door interrupts the quiet. Sam glances at his watch, nearly midnight. He grunts and rises from his chair, his heavy footsteps echoing as he approaches the door. He opens it to reveal a vision in red. Evelyn Grant stands in the doorway, her fiery hair a striking contrast to the dark, rainy night outside. Her green eyes lock onto Sam's with a mixture of determination and fear. She wears a sleek red dress that clings to her curves, and her trench coat is cinched at the waist, emphasizing her silhouette. Detective Thorn? Her voice is a sultry whisper that seems to make the room feel warmer. I need your help. Sam eyes her with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Come in, Miss Grant. What's got you out in the rain at this hour? Evelyn steps inside, her heels clicking softly on the wooden floor. She closes the door behind her and takes a seat across from Sam, her movements graceful and deliberate. She pulls out a small, leather-bound notebook from her handbag, placing it on the desk. I have reason to believe that a valuable family heirloom is hidden in Ravenwood Manor, she says, her eyes meeting his with an intense gaze. The Silver Serpent Dagger, it was stolen from my great-grandfather. It's been in my family for generations, and I want it back. Sam raises an eyebrow, a skeptical smirk playing on his lips. A stolen heirloom? That's a far cry from the usual missing person or cheating spouse case. Why not go to the police? Evelyn's gaze flickers with a hint of desperation. The police won't help me. They say it's just an old myth that the dagger was lost in a fire years ago. But I've done my research. I know it's still there, hidden in that cursed mansion. My family has been haunted by its loss for decades. Sam leans back in his chair, studying her carefully. So you're asking me to find a dagger that's been missing for generations, in a mansion that's supposedly cursed? Evelyn nods, her voice steady, despite the fear in her eyes. Yes, and I'm willing to pay whatever it takes. But more than that, I need someone who's not afraid of what they might find. Someone who can handle the truth. Sam stubs out a cigarette and nods slowly. All right, Miss Grant. I'll take the case. But understand this, I'm not one to chase ghosts. If this dagger is real, I'll find it. But if it's not, you'll have to accept that too. As Evelyn's eyes glimmer with hope and determination, Sam can sense the tension in the room. The case is about to take a turn into the unknown, and he is stepping right into the middle of it. The door creaks open slightly, and a gust of cold wind sweeps through the room, making the lamp flicker. Sam and Evelyn both turn towards the doorway, sensing that the night is far from over. Sam spent the next day digging into the town's history and the enigmatic Ravenwood Manor. His first stop was the local library, where he pored over old newspapers and archival materials. The story of the manor and the missing Silver Serpent Dagger was well known in Bayside. The details were murky. Later, Sam visited Captain Reed Donovan, the local police chief and old-school chum. They met at a diner where the air was thick with the smell of grease and coffee. Reed, you know anything about Ravenwood Manor? Sam asked, sliding a cup of coffee over to the chief. Reed took a sip, expression skeptical. Heard stories, mostly. The place has been abandoned for years. They say it's cursed. But I wouldn't put much stock in ghost stories. Curse or not, the manor's tied to a missing heirloom, Sam said. A family relic, a dagger. You know anything about its history? Reed's face grew serious. The manor belonged to Jasper Crowley. He's a recluse and keeps to himself. If you're investigating, Crowley will likely know about it soon enough. He's got eyes and ears around town. Sam's next stop was Ravenwood Manor itself. The mansion loomed on the outskirts of town, its once grand facade now weathered and broken. As Sam approached, he saw a figure watching from the shadows of the caretaker's cottage, Mr. Jasper Crowley. Crowley was an old man, his face lined with age and his eyes sharp behind thick glasses. He greeted Sam with a wary nod. Detective Thorn, what brings you to my doorstep? I'm investigating a missing family heirloom, Sam said, stepping forward. The Silver Serpent Dagger. I have reason to believe it's connected to this mansion. Crowley's expression hardened. I don't know anything about a dagger. Ravenwood Manor has been my home for years. What happened here before I came is not my concern. Sam studied Crowley carefully. You're sure? This is important to someone. Crowley's gaze was guarded. The past is buried for a reason. Some things are better left alone. Sam tried to ask a few more questions but didn't get any useful answers from Jasper, other than he had moved into the caretaker's cottage over a decade ago because the mansion had become too much for him to manage alone. As Sam left Crowley's property, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Crowley's words than met the eye. Buried for a reason, he muttered. That evening, as he reviewed his notes, he received a threatening message that had been slid under his door. Stay away from the manor, or face the consequence. Night fell, and Sam decided it was time to explore the mansion. Armed with a flashlight and his trusty revolver, he entered through the main door, which groaned on its hinges. Inside, the mansion was a labyrinth of dust-covered furniture and cobwebs. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of foreboding. Every sound seemed amplified in the silence, the distant drip of water, creak of old wood. Sam's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing faded portraits of long-gone occupants and rotting wallpaper. In the mansion's library, Sam discovered a hidden compartment in one of the bookshelves. Inside, he found a collection of old letters and a diary belonging to one of the manor's former residents. The entry spoke of a secret pact and a hidden relic, a single item tied to the family's dark past. Just as Sam was piecing together the clues, Evelyn Grant arrived. Her red hair glowed eerily in the flashlight's beam. She looked more determined than ever, her expression intense. "Sam, I've been doing some digging," Evelyn said, her voice low, not shocked at seeing Sam there too. "There's a clue in my great-grandfather's diary. He mentioned a hidden chamber in the basement." Sam nodded. "Let's find it." They descended into the basement, old, damp air clinging to their skin. Sam's flashlight flickered over the stone walls, revealing a heavy, iron-bound door. It creaked ominously as Sam pushed it open, revealing a small, hidden chamber. In the center of the room, a pedestal held an object shrouded in a layer of dusty black velvet. As the velvet was carefully lifted, the beam of the flashlight revealed a cascade of glittering dust, catching the light in a shimmering display. "That's it," he whispered. "The dagger. It's been in my family for generations." It was the Silver Serpent Dagger. Its hilt was encrusted with jewels, and the blade gleamed with a deadly sheen. Evelyn gasped at the sight. As Evelyn reached for the dagger, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hallway. They turned to find Jasper Crowley standing at the entrance, his expression grim. Confrontation was tense. Crowley, holding a revolver, stood between them and the dagger. His face was a mix of anger and desperation. "You shouldn't have come here," Crowley said, his voice cold. "This manor and the dagger are my responsibility." Evelyn's eyes were filled with fear and hope that he would have some compassion for her family's lost legacy. "Mr. Crowley, this dagger was stolen from my family. I just want it returned." Crowley's hand tightened around the revolver. "You don't grasp the gravity of this. The Silver Serpent Dagger has been the source of my family's downfall. I've been its guardian out of necessity. Can't let it slip away." Sam kept his voice steady, trying to defuse the situation. "Crowley, if you're protecting the secret, it's time to reveal it. The dagger has caused enough harm." Crowley's hand shook as he aimed the revolver at Sam. "You don't know what you're asking. This dagger has brought nothing but misery. My family was cursed because of it. Now it's my burden." In a swift motion, Sam lunged forward, knocking the gun out of Crowley's hand. The two men struggled, their grunts echoing in the small chamber. Evelyn grabbed the dagger, but Crowley, in his frantic state, lunged for it. "No," Crowley cried out, his voice filled with anguish. "It's mine." In the struggle, Crowley lost his footing and stumbled backward. The dagger slipped from his grasp and clattered to the floor. As he tried to regain his balance, he tripped and fell heavily onto the blade. The blade plunged straight into his heart. Crowley tried to stand, clutching the wound, but collapsed, blood spreading across the floor. Evelyn rushed to Crowley's side, face pale with shock. "Jasper, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen." Crowley, weak and fading, locked eyes with Evelyn, his gaze filled with a haunting mix of regret and despair. "You think you've won?" he rasped. "This dagger isn't just a curse, it's a warning. It claimed my ancestors, and now it's claimed me. But it's not over. The darkness never ends." Evelyn stepped back, her expression hardened. Your family chose to embrace the curse, Crawley. But we're choosing to break it. Crawley's lips curled into a bitter smile as his strength waned. You can't break what you don't understand. As Crawley's life slipped away, the oppressive weight that had hung over Ravenwood Manor seemed to lift. The Silver Serpent Dagger, once a symbol of a twisted legacy, lay harmless beside Crawley's lifeless form. Power diminished. The first light of dawn broke over Bayside, bathing the manor in a soft, golden glow. Sam Thorn and Evelyn Grant stood at the edge of the property, looking back at the mansion that had held so many secrets. The truth is out, Sam said, his voice firm. But the real curse wasn't the dagger. It was the obsession, the lies, the fear that bound this place. Evelyn nodded, her gaze steady. And now, it's finally over. As they walked away, the sound of distant sirens grew louder, signaling that the authorities were on their way. Sam and Evelyn left Ravenwood Manor behind, not as fugitives, but as witnesses to the end of a dark chapter. The case was closed, and the legacy of the Silver Serpent Dagger had ended, not with a curse, but with the choice to walk away from the darkness and toward the light of a new day.